There is something undeniably jarring about waking up in the dead of night, not from a sound, not from a bad dream, but from something quieter, something internal. Between 3 and 5 a.m., the world is still. Everyone else is asleep, but you're not. You're staring at the ceiling, blinking into the dark, and maybe, just maybe, feeling a flicker of unease you can't quite name. This isn't just a fluke of your sleep cycle. This is something deeper, something spiritual, something that's asking for your attention. We often treat waking up in the middle of the night as a problem to be fixed. We reach for explanations, caffeine, stress, hormones, too much screen time. And yes, those are real. But sometimes beneath the physical cause, there's a more tender truth that your soul, your inner self, is trying to speak. And it can only get a word in when everything else is quiet. 3 a.m. isn't just an inconvenient hour. It's sacred, it's intimate, and it's no accident that this is the hour where truth often stirs. If you're waking up during this window, ask yourself this: what part of me has been ignored in the daylight? So many of us go through the motions all day long, performing, producing, managing, pretending. We're flooded with tasks, conversations, obligations, and distractions. There's no room to listen inward. So when the world finally goes quiet, your subconscious, your spirit, your unspoken thoughts, they rise. And they rise for a reason. This is the wake-up call within the wake-up call. It's not just your body waking you up. It's your being. It's the version of you that's aching for something more honest, more aligned, more awake. And in those quiet, vulnerable hours, what's been buried starts to float to the surface. That ache you've been numbing, that truth you've been avoiding, that voice you've been silencing, it's all there in the stillness. Not to torment you, but to invite you. And yes, it's uncomfortable. No one teaches us how to sit in the dark with ourselves. We're conditioned to turn away from discomfort, to self-soothe, to dismiss it. But what if the discomfort isn't a threat? What if it's a message? One that says, you're not broken. You're being asked to be braver, not by forcing yourself to fix everything, but by noticing everything. By listening to what hurts, what longs, what's yearning to be held instead of hidden. There's real power in that kind of listening. And I don't mean power in the external sense, not influence or control. I mean the quiet, deeply grounded power of knowing yourself, of holding space for your own fear and still choosing presence. That's radical. That's healing. That's the foundation of transformation. And it often begins when we stop treating 3 a.m. as the enemy and start treating it as the door. So the next time you find yourself awake in the middle of the night, ask, what am I being invited to feel? Maybe it's grief, maybe it's clarity, maybe it's the need to let go of something you've been clinging to, maybe it's just silence. A rare moment to be with yourself without judgment. Whatever it is, lean in gently. You don't need all the answers. You just need to be willing to listen. Because here's the truth most of us forget. The things that wake us up in the night aren't trying to break us. They're trying to break us open. And there is a world of difference between those two. One leaves us shattered. The other leaves us honest, whole, and finally awake. Not just in the literal sense, but in the one that matters most. There's something strangely universal about 4 a.m. If you've ever found yourself wide awake at that hour, heart a little heavy, thoughts circling like birds with nowhere to land, you're not the only one. It feels lonely, yes. The world is dark and quiet. No notifications, no noise. Just you and the hum of your thoughts. But here's the thing. Across the city, across the globe, across time zones and generations, someone else is also awake. Feeling what you're feeling, searching for the same peace. You are not alone. That hour holds a kind of ache that can't quite be named. It's not always a crisis. Sometimes it's just a restlessness, a subtle dread, a quiet longing. You wake up and you don't know why, but your chest feels tight. Your brain won't stop whispering worries, and suddenly everything that felt manageable in the light feels overwhelming in the dark. That's not just you. That's the human experience. 4 a.m. is where anxiety and hope often wrestle in silence. We tend to believe that if we're up in the middle of the night, it must be a sign that something's wrong with us, that everyone else is sleeping soundly, that normal people don't wake up like this. But here's the truth, millions of us do. Artists, parents, caregivers, dreamers, survivors, people working the night shift, people crying on bathroom floors, people staring at the same moon, asking the same quiet questions. Am I okay? Will this pass? Is anyone else feeling this? You are never as alone as you feel at 4 a.m. The loneliness is real, but it's not the whole truth. There's a quiet collective of people who are also navigating the stillness. They may not be in the room with you, but they exist. They understand. That shared human experience, that hidden connection, is more powerful than we realize. It reminds us that even in our most isolated moments, we're still tethered to each other by invisible threads. And sometimes being awake at 4 a.m. is about more than just the personal. It's about what it reveals, our shared fragility, our common longing. In daylight, we all perform. We put on the brave face, we go to work, we manage. But in those early hours, the masks are off. It's just us and our raw, unfiltered selves. And that right there is where real empathy lives, in the knowing that others too carry invisible weights through the dark. The irony is we spend our days trying to appear strong and in control and then feel ashamed when we unravel in the dark. But what if the unraveling is sacred? What if 4 a.m. isn't a sign of failure, but a threshold, a space where your heart says, now, I'm ready to be seen, even if it's just by me. And in that willingness to witness yourself, to sit with your own truth, you become more connected to others who are doing the same. There's a quiet kind of courage in waking up like that, and sitting in the discomfort, and choosing to feel instead of numb. And when you realize you're not alone, that thousands of others are doing the same across time zones and timelines, something softens. Maybe not the pain, but the isolation. And that's everything. Because when we're reminded that others are walking through their own dark hours too, it doesn't fix the pain, but it offers us something just as powerful: belonging. So next time you find yourself staring at the ceiling at 4 a.m., breathe. Not just to calm your nervous system, but to remember you are part of something larger. There is an invisible chorus of hearts beating with yours in the dark. You're not strange. You're not broken. You're human. You're tender. And you are never, not even for a moment, truly alone. We live in a world that worships movement. We're taught that doing is everything, that success is speed, that motion equals meaning. We rush, we hustle, we keep our calendars full and our hands busy because stillness makes us uncomfortable. It feels like a void. It feels like failure. But here's the truth. Stillness is not emptiness. Stillness is presence and the ability to stay with yourself, to really stay when everything goes quiet, might just be the bravest thing you ever do. When you wake up in the early morning hours and the noise of the world falls away, you meet yourself in an unfiltered way. There's no distraction to cling to, no productivity to perform, just breath, just sensation, just being. And for many of us, that's terrifying because in that stillness, the feelings we've avoided start to surface. But what if those things aren't enemies? What if they're messengers? We confuse stillness with stagnation. We think that if we're not moving forward, we're falling behind. But internal growth doesn't always look like motion. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like lying awake in the dark, letting your heart beat loud enough for you to finally hear what it's been saying. Stillness is where integration happens. It's where truth gets a voice. Not loud, not flashy, but real. In the quiet, there's a mirror. You're not looking at your to-do list, your accomplishments, or your titles. You're just looking at you. That can be disorienting, especially when you've built your identity around what you do rather than who you are. But the longer you stay with it, the more you realize the stillness isn't empty. It's full of your essence, your intuition, your untended dreams, your raw human vulnerability, the parts of you that are so easy to miss in the noise. It's in stillness that healing begins. Not the kind that looks impressive on the outside, but the kind that feels like coming home to yourself. The kind where you realize you don't have to outrun your fear or mask your sadness. You just have to be with it, hold it like you would a hurting child, gently, without judgment. Let it breathe, let it exist, not so it controls you, but so it can release its grip. The more we resist stillness, the more we miss the wisdom it carries. Stillness teaches us that we are not what we produce. We are not our pace. We are not the sum of our accomplishments. We are worthy even in the quiet, even in the in-between, even when we don't have the next step figured out. That is a radical countercultural truth in a society that demands constant progress. But that truth is also freedom, and it often only reveals itself in moments when everything else fades away. So the next time you wake up in the early hours and you find yourself lying there, no phone, no agenda, just you, try not to fill the space too quickly. Try not to label it as wasted or unproductive. Just breathe. Stay with yourself. Ask gently, what's here right now? You might be surprised by what answers. Because that stillness, it's not a blank, it's a portal. It's where the softest parts of you finally get to speak. And maybe that's the point of it all. Not to fix, not to finish, but to feel. To allow the stillness to hold you instead of fearing it. To remember that silence isn't the absence of life. It's the beginning of deeper awareness. And that, my friend, is not empty. That is sacred. Our bodies are not just vessels that carry us through life. They are living records, documenting every experience we've had, every trauma, every joy, every heartbreak, every unspoken thought. Our bodies keep track of it all. It's easy to forget this in a world that emphasizes thinking, doing, and achieving. We often pride ourselves on being rational beings capable of processing emotions in neat, logical ways. But what if the truth is deeper, more visceral? What if the body, in its own quiet wisdom, is the most honest reflection of what we carry? You might have felt it yourself, that tightness in your chest when you're anxious, the knot in your stomach when you're overwhelmed, the ache in your back when you're carrying too much emotional weight. These physical sensations aren't random, they're responses. The body is telling you without words what's been stored within. It's telling you when something is out of balance, when something needs attention, when you've been ignoring a part of yourself that needs to be seen. And it's especially loud in the stillness of the night, when everything else falls away and the only thing left to pay attention to is your own pulse. The idea that the body holds memories might sound abstract, but if you've ever felt a rush of emotion in response to a smell, a sound, or a place, you know it's not just your mind remembering. It's your body too. Your body doesn't forget. It remembers not just the joyful moments, but also the painful ones. It holds on to the tension from arguments long past, the grief from losses that you haven't allowed yourself to mourn. Your body is a mirror, reflecting everything your mind has swept under the rug, everything your heart has tried to protect itself from. And in those quiet moments, those late night awakenings, your body is finally asking you to listen. When we experience emotional stress, our bodies react in ways we often don't fully understand. We might hold our breath, tense our shoulders, or clench our fists. But here's the catch. When we don't process these emotions consciously, when we ignore them or push them away, they don't disappear. They get stored in our tissues, in our muscles, in our organs, and over time, if we don't acknowledge what we're carrying, our bodies may begin to shout. It could be a chronic ache, a headache, a racing heartbeat. These physical symptoms are like a scorecard, documenting all the moments we failed to give ourselves permission to feel fully, to heal fully. Think about it this way. You may think you've moved on from a painful event, but if your body is still holding on to the tension, the fear, the grief, then it hasn't moved on. It's simply been silenced. Your body doesn't lie. It's been paying attention when your mind was too busy to notice. And when you wake up between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. and you feel the weight of unprocessed emotions, it's because your body is telling you that the scorecard is full. It's asking you to look at what you've ignored, to be honest about what you've been carrying, and to begin the work of letting go. There's a lot of wisdom in the body if you're willing to slow down enough to hear it. The body knows what the mind can't always articulate. That tightness in your chest might not just be anxiety. It could be old wounds that haven't been acknowledged. The fluttering in your stomach might not just be nerves. It could be excitement for something you've been afraid to pursue. The ache in your neck might not just be from sitting at a desk too long. It could be the weight of responsibilities you've been shouldering alone. The more we learn to tune in to the physical sensations we experience, the more we learn to decode the silent messages our bodies are sending us. But listening to your body isn't just about identifying tension or discomfort. It's also about learning to give yourself permission to release, to soften, to heal. When you wake up in the middle of the night and your body feels like it's carrying the weight of the world, take a moment to breathe deeply. Try to connect with where you feel the tension in your body without judgment. Acknowledge it. Thank your body for carrying it all this time, and then gently begin to let go. Stretch, breathe, move, release. Your body isn't just a container for stress, it's a vehicle for healing, but you have to let it do its work. Ultimately, the body keeps the scorecard because it wants you to heal. It wants you to release what no longer serves you. It wants you to feel, to process, and to release so you can live more fully. The next time you wake up at 4 a.m., instead of pushing the discomfort away, lean into it. Listen to the signals your body is sending. Your body is your ally, not your adversary. It holds the wisdom that will guide you toward healing if only you are willing to slow down and listen. The body knows, and by paying attention to it, you can begin the journey of truly letting go, one breath, one stretch, one small release at a time. 5 small, powerful practices to transform 3 a.m. from fear to clarity. In the quiet hours between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., when the world is still, you may find yourself at the mercy of your thoughts. The mind races, the heart beats a little faster, and a quiet panic can settle in. It's easy to turn away in these moments, to reach for your phone, to distract yourself, to avoid the discomfort. But what if, instead of running from what's rising within you, you leaned into it? What if, in those moments of vulnerability, you gave yourself the permission to turn toward the discomfort instead of away from it? The simple shift of turning toward, not away, can transform the experience of waking up in the early morning hours from fear into clarity. Here are 5 small, powerful practices that can help you do just that. 1, breathe deeply, ground yourself in the present moment. The first thing we often do when we wake up in the middle of the night is panic. Our minds immediately flood with worries about the future, regrets from the past, or even the overwhelming sense that something is wrong. The key to transforming that fear is to ground yourself in the present. Take a few deep, intentional breaths. Focus on the sensation of the air entering your body and filling your lungs. Feel your feet against the floor or your body in the bed, reminding yourself that you are here in this moment. Grounding yourself like this slows the heart rate, reduces anxiety, and clears the fog of worry, giving you the clarity to face what's coming up with more awareness. 2, acknowledge your emotions without judgment. When you wake up feeling uneasy, it's easy to suppress the emotions or try to talk yourself out of them. I shouldn't be feeling like this, you might tell yourself. I should just go back to sleep. But here's the thing, those feelings are valid. The second practice in turning toward the discomfort is acknowledging what you feel without judgment. If you feel anxious, sad, confused, or even lonely, recognize that these emotions are simply part of your experience, not to be fixed or dismissed, but to be witnessed. Saying, I feel scared right now, or I feel overwhelmed, and that's okay. Create space for you to hold your own vulnerability with tenderness and understanding. In that recognition, you can begin to disarm the power that those emotions hold over you. 3, connect to your body with gentle movement. Our bodies hold so much of what we experience emotionally. When you wake up at 3 a.m. feeling restless or uneasy, your body may be tight or tense in response to what your mind is processing. Instead of staying in a state of stillness that feels loaded with discomfort, engage your body in a small act of movement. Stretch your arms, roll your neck, gently touch your face or your chest, and feel the sensations. Even a few moments of physical movement can reset your nervous system and break the cycle of anxiety. Your body wants to release the tension it's holding, but it needs your conscious presence to do so. By turning toward your body, you give it permission to process whatever it's been holding on to and allow the mind to follow suit. At 3 a.m., it's easy to be your own harshest critic. Why can't I sleep? Why do I always feel like this? Why am I such a mess? The late night hours tend to amplify our inner critics. But turning toward the discomfort means choosing to respond with compassion, not criticism. In these moments, try replacing self-judgment with words of love. Say to yourself, "It's okay to feel this way. I am here for myself." You can even place a hand on your heart or gently rub your arms as a physical gesture of self-compassion. When we treat ourselves with kindness, especially when we feel vulnerable, it creates a softening of the fear and anxiety, turning a potentially dark moment into an opportunity for deeper self-connection. 5, ask yourself a gentle question. What do I need right now? Fear can feel like an overwhelming force that's hard to navigate, but instead of asking, "Why am I feeling this?" or "What's wrong with me?" ask yourself, "What do I need right now?" This question shifts the focus away from judgment or panic and opens the door to clarity. Maybe you need rest, maybe you need comfort, maybe you need reassurance, or maybe you need to write down what's on your mind. Whatever it is, listen closely to your body and your heart. The answer might not come immediately, but the practice of asking that simple question, "What do I need right now?" shifts your approach from fear-based thinking to a more compassionate, grounded inquiry. The clarity you seek in the moment is often there, just beneath the surface, waiting to be revealed. The practice of turning toward, not away, transforms these early morning hours from a battle with fear into an opportunity for clarity. These moments don't have to be filled with dread or frustration. Instead, they can become a portal for growth and connection to your inner self. By grounding yourself in the present, acknowledging your emotions, engaging your body, practicing self-compassion, and listening deeply to your needs, you allow yourself to show up with vulnerability, courage, and tenderness. And ultimately, you transform those dark, uncertain hours into a space of healing and insight. These 5 small practices don't require big, sweeping changes. They simply ask you to pause, breathe, and turn your attention inward with kindness. In doing so, you'll find that 3 a.m. doesn't have to be a time of fear and confusion. It can be a time of awakening, of listening, and of moving forward into the light with more clarity, more peace, and more acceptance of who you are.